Okay, so welcome everyone. This is our session, Selling Your Products, a guide for new and beginning farmers. So let's dive in. First off, a little bit about me. My name is Michelle Duong. I'm actually an ecologist by training and came to work in sustainable agriculture as a way of promoting biodiversity on private lands. For me, it was critical that ecological farming and small to mid-sized family farms are economically competitive and relevant in order to maintain resilient communities and ecosystems. Before CAFF, I owned and operated an online retail business that sourced locally and sustainably grown farm products that serve the greater Sacramento area. I have a lot of personal experience with setting sales strategies for my own business, and then now at CAFF, I help many farm businesses with their sales and marketing. Currently, I'm the farm to school coordinator on the farm to market team at CAFF. I work across California, specializing in helping farmers sell their products to schools and also helping schools with local food procurement. While I specialize in farm to school, I also will help farmers with general sales facilitation, particularly farmers around the greater Sacramento area. And a little bit about our farm to market program. We support small to medium-sized farms by providing one-on-one sales facilitation support and developing new value-based market opportunities. We believe in an equitable food system where small and medium-sized farms are economically viable, playing a recognized and primary role in providing healthy food to their communities. So today we're going to be covering some just ground setting, approaching our mindset towards sales, some fundamentals in sales, and selecting which marketing channel is right for you, going through how to set up a sale and price setting strategies. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions that come up, please pop it in the Q&A. And then should be having some members of the farm to market team on the call, and they'll be helping me to answer any questions that you might have as well. So before we get started, I just want to have you take a moment to grab a pen and paper or whatever your preferred method is for note taking. As we go through some high level concepts and examples, it helps to jot down ideas that are relevant for you or your farm business. You can start crafting your sales concepts and strategy to either start or round out your own sales strategy during this talk. So getting started, I just want to address the elephant in the room. When people think of sales, they might think of that icky used car salesman. They might kind of associate selling with characteristics like pushy tactics and manipulation, caring more about the sale than the customer, convincing people to buy things they don't need, or being inauthentic or sleazy. So in this presentation, we're going to dive into finding the right match between your product you're offering and the customers that want it, and how to feel good about the sales as a service that you're providing. So instead, we want to think about reframing our mindset towards sales for what it should be and what it actually is. And what sales is it's problem solving. You're connecting with people who have a need with a solution that genuinely helps them. Sales is education. Most buyers don't know what options exist or how to evaluate them. You're providing valuable information. Seth Godin, a well-known marketing expert, often talks about the concept that if customers knew everything a producer knows, they would make the same high trust and high and values-driven decisions. Sales is also relationship building. The best salespeople create long-term partnerships, not just one-time transactions. And sales is listening. You can't solve someone's problems if you don't understand it first. So a good sales strategy when executed well is addressing a real need for your ideal customer. It should feel good to be in alignment with your farm's mission and your customers' needs. So let's talk about that mindset shift. You're providing something positive, sales as a service. So you're believing in what you're offering and genuinely caring about solving your customer's problem. So instead of thinking, how do I get them to buy? You can consider thinking, how can I help them make the best decision for their situation? Instead of, I need to close this deal, think, well, does what I'm offering truly fit their needs? And then in terms of overcoming their objections, really listen and understand their concerns, and address them honestly. So by changing your mindset here, you're going from that icky used car salesman to providing a really meaningful, valuable service. So, what does sales mean for farmers? Sales is telling a story. Um, Many farmers, most farmers have an incredible story, a story of how they farm, why they farm the way they do, what makes their product special. People really want to hear that. Sales is building relationships. If you're selling at farmers markets, you're already doing this. If you have CSA members, you're building relationships with your neighbors. Um, your sales strategy is just an extension of this. And sales is problem solving. Uh, the problem is your buyers need reliable sources of fresh quality farm products, and you have exactly that. And sales is valuing your work. When you advocate for fair prices and communicate your value, you're standing up for yourself and other farmers as well. So the bottom line is you deserve to make a living in farming. Learning to sell effectively isn't selling out, it's ensuring your farm survives and thrives so you can keep doing this important work. So let's get started. So let's talk about the fundamentals of sales using some farm-centric examples. We're going to cover your ideal customer, your value proposition, great product, branding, and the sales funnel. So first off, let's talk about the ideal customer. You're looking for a customer that is aligned with your farm's business mission and its offerings. It's much easier to sell to a customer that's looking for a product like yours than changing your whole business to cater to a customer who doesn't actually want that product. So your ideal customer could be a foodie, home chef, health conscious parent, values driven customer, CSA loyalist, restaurateur, farm to school champion food service director, or a tech company chef. You can ask yourself when thinking about your ideal customer, how much can I reliably produce? Do I want many small customers or a few large ones? What price do I need to be profitable? Who can afford my prices and who sees the value? Can I deliver? Do they need to pick up? How much time can I spend on sales versus farming? And what values matter to me? Is it organic? Is it sustainability? Is it community? Who shares these values with you? And where can you find them? Can you find them at their business, at restaurants, at farmers markets, grocery stores? Are they part of your CSA membership? Do you have to go to the schools? You can find them through a referral network. When you get really specific about who your ideal customer is, um, you can start to really tailor your sales strategy because then you're understanding their needs, their preferences, and their purchasing habits. And I recommend developing these customer profiles and being really specific. You can give them names. For example, you can have Conscious Chris. He likes to go to the farmer's market every Sunday morning. He likes to buy varieties you can't easily find in stores. He's excited to learn about new items and ideas for preparing them. Chris usually arrives early to the market, and when you have a short conversation about him to share stories about the food that you've brought, how you grew them, he might buy a few extra pounds. Or you could have Efficient Edith. She is the food service director of a medium-sized school district. She's really busy, can't talk for long, but she cares about supporting your small farm and will respond quickly when you share your weekly availability list. If you can assure Edith that you're responsive, you're a reliable partner, um, then she will stick with you week after week. And if she runs into any issues, she will communicate with you. Keep in mind, these are just general customer profiles. Real people can be much harder to put into a box. Um, you're coming up with an archetype. You might not be able to find people that exactly tick all of your boxes, And it's an ongoing process. You can also transform someone into your ideal customer, given some like additional education and nurturing. So let's talk about who the who your ideal customer is and who they're not. Um, when your ideal customer values what you offer, they can afford your prices, they're reliable, they pay on time, they respect your time and boundaries, they communicate clearly, and they're pleasant to work with. What they're not is your ideal customer shouldn't be price haggling with you all the time. They shouldn't have unrealistic expectations. They shouldn't disrespect your time, be unreliable or flaky. Um, they Your not ideal customer doesn't value what makes you different. Um, and they can also make you dread interactions with them. So in thinking about who your ideal customer is, um, describe your current best customers. What do they have in common? Where do they hang out? That'll help you focus on how to build more of your ideal customer. Find a larger customer base there. Um, and then also stop trying to serve everyone. If you have some of these not ideal customers or customers with some of these traits of your not ideal customer, consider firing them. It's better to focus your time on your ideal customer than these non-ideal customers. And then test and refine. Your ideal customer profile will evolve over time when you learn more about your customers and you get more experience, then the profile should evolve with it as well. Okay, next we'll talk about your value proposition. Now that you have a better sense of your ideal customer, um, then let's build a value proposition for those customers. Remember, these sales strategies are a very customer-centric approach. You're thinking about what you can do for your customer, not what they can do for you. So a value proposition is a statement of your unique values that your farm business brings. It's not a list of what you grow. It's not your farm history. It's not how hard you work. Instead, it's the specific benefit customers get from buying from you. It's what makes you different and better for them and why they should care. So the value proposition tells customers what problem you solve for them, why you're the best solution, and what they get from you that they can't get elsewhere. So let's go through some examples of what a value proposition could look like. If you want to really focus on the value of freshness, for example, you get food at peak freshness picked within 24 hours. These are just examples. They may or may not work for your farm. Definitely um, come up with like a custom tailored approach that works best for your business. So if you want to highlight the characteristic of freshness, your ideal customer might care most about better flavor, higher nutritional value, longer shelf life in your kitchen, a different eating experience than going to the grocery store. So instead of like a less ideal value proposition, you say, we pick our produce fresh. It's not very specific. You can do better and say, this lettuce was in the field yesterday morning. See, feel, taste, and hear the difference. It's still crunchy, it's still alive, and it will last longer than a week in your fridge without getting brown. And then a couple more examples. It could be for flavor, variety selected for taste, not shipping durability. Customers might be looking for special varieties, picked ripe, grown for taste, not for travel. So a weak version could be our tomatoes taste better. Uh, Better than that, you could say, I grow 12 heirloom tomato varieties not found in stores. They're too delicate to ship, but too delicious not to grow. Try a German stripe and tell me if you've tasted something like that at Safeway. Or you can say, remember what peaches tasted like when you were a kid? That's what we grow. Our peaches are too delicately delicious for a 2,000-mile truck ride. And here's a picture of my toddler enjoying freshly picked watermelon in the middle of Durst Organic growers. Who doesn't love kids enjoying food? He's definitely a customer that cares about flavor. So his value prop would be, our value prop for him would be, we grow food that tastes so good, kids can't get enough of it. If your customer cares about traceability and trust, might care about food safety, chemical inputs. They want transparency. They want to find growers that support practices that they believe in. So instead of saying we're a local farm or we farm sustainably, get more specific than that. You can say, I don't use synthetic pesticides, period. I can tell you all about how I grow your food and how my farm thrives without chemicals. Or you can say, I'm building soil, not mining it. No-till, cover crops, biodiversity. Every box of mandarins you buy supports farming that's actually improving the ecosystem, not destroying it. Okay, now let's try crafting a value proposition. This is a good time to pull out that pen and paper and think about examples for your own farm. Uh, it'd be great to hear what some of your value propositions are, even like workshop your value props if you want to throw them in the comments. At CAFF, we definitely love peer-to-peer learning, so it would be great to see what some of you guys are using. So when crafting your value proposition, identify what makes you different. What do your best customers say they love about buying from you? What can you do that bigger operations can't? And what can you do better than other farmers in your area? And then remember, you're connecting it back to that ideal customer. Uh, how does the customer benefit? For example, what you do, you produce honey, but why the customer might care is you have honey from local bees, helping to reduce your seasonal allergies. Be specific. So picked within 24 hours of delivery or no synthetic pesticides, no-till, 100% cover crop. And here's the hard part is pulling it all into one sentence. So let's take the example, your ideal customer is a high-end restaurant chef that features local ingredients. Um, think of like the example of the $15 fruit bowl at Chez Panisse. That's two mandarins and like a few sprinklings of dates. The ingredients need to be so special and conversation worthy that the restaurant is willing to purchase for a premium price, especially if they have customers willing to pay for the product. So your value prop here could be, I help chefs create unforgettable dessert menus by supplying tree-ripened stone fruit in 10 plus heirloom varieties that are too delicate for distributors to carry, picked the day before delivery. So this value prop works because it specifically targets chefs. It addresses their need for menu differentiation. It highlights scarcity and uniqueness. It's too delicate for distributors, and it's varieties they can't find in other places, and it emphasizes freshness. And for this part, I feel like you guys got it down. You know how to grow a great product much better than I know how to grow. Um, but when you are in your sales process, you definitely want to make sure you are showcasing a great product. You want to be consistent with high quality, fresh, visually appealing products. And you want to make sure it's clean, it's harvested properly and stored. Definitely being consistent. Customers want to know that they can rely on you, and they want to know what kind of product is coming from you, and they also want to know that it's not going to be a problem, especially if you have a business-to-business customer like a restaurant or a school or a distributor. They have operations um, that need to run smoothly, and they want to know that the vendors that they're sourcing from have their back and are good partners. And also being responsive is part of the product because when you're thinking about sales as a service, your service definitely gets baked into the product. So definitely responsiveness is really important. If you are speaking with especially wholesale customers, they might need really quick turnarounds for availability and logistics and specs. So it's good to have that information readily available um, and answer them as quickly as possible. And then there's branding. Um, we'll quickly go over different branding, like for visuals. It can go from a simple logo to a website, and even just like a really unique farm name that helps distinguish you from other farms. Branding is also storytelling. Um, so people love to connect with the story behind the product. This can be your farm story, how you grow, interesting information about the product that you grow. You can be using social media um, for your storytelling, flyers, sharing your story at local events. Um, these are all ways to connect with potential customers. And then there's the physical branding aspect in packaging, like with labeled boxes or stickers or clamshells or branded bags to help your product stand out. And the way you want to be investing in your branding, your time and expenses here will really depend on the marketing channel that you're selling into as well. So next, let's move into the sales funnel. Um, if you've ever come across the sales funnel before, it's not necessarily a perfect process, um, but it is a fundamental sales concept that helps you move from generating leads to having loyal paying customers. The idea is that many leads come into the top of the funnel, and then as they move their way down the funnel, there's like leads that kind of leak out. They don't make it to the next step. And very few are at the end that make it to the loyalty stage. So first up, there's awareness. It's when people first learn about your farm and its offerings. Your goal here is to attract as many potential customers, we call them leads, as possible, and create awareness about your farm, your values, and the benefit of your product. The way for doing this, some ideas would be to use social media, do content marketing. This is like education about like your farm, how you grow, the products that you grow. Um, and you could do this through sharing blogs, writing newsletters. You can use your website, your Google business page. Just if you're at farmers markets, that's great too. These are just different ways for customers to become aware that your farm exists and what products that you have. Also through special events. Word of mouth is always great. And then there's the rule of seven. A potential customer needs to see or hear your marketing message at least 7 times before they'll take action. So just know that you have to just put yourself out there, and it might not be like a one-to-one, like you do something and then you immediately get a sale. You kind of just have to regularly keep at it. And then um, the next stage is the interest stage, and that you're still not at the buying phase. The lead is not at the buying phase yet. You need to nurture them. So first they became aware of you, and now your goal is to keep them engaged, educate them on why your your farm products are worth purchasing. The way of doing this is through being active on social media. You can use your email list. You can attract people to sign on to your email list by using a lead magnet, which is just exchanging like a free helpful resource like a free recipe or an ebook or something like that in exchange for their email contact details and consent to regularly email them. So this way you can continue to nurture them, keep them in the funnel, don't want them leaking out. So they want to hear from you regularly. You can also do workshops or farm tours. Just you want to stay in people's minds. And then the next is the decision phase. So this is good if they've made it to this phase. At this point, customers or leads are considering purchasing And at this point, they're comparing your farm to others. So the goal is to build trust, show them that your farm is the best choice, and you want to overcome objections so in order to persuade them to take the next step, which is the action stage, which is to buy. So what to do here, you could consider offering discounts or promotions, show testimonials or reviews from customers that are like them, highlight unique selling points, like if you're certified organic, pesticide free, you grow specialty crops, climate smart farming, um, having appealing packaging or branding might help as well. Again, knowing what to do really depends on your profile of your ideal customer. It'll help you kind of narrow down what to do. At this decision phase, we're handling objections of the customer. So ideally, you're in a dialogue with them face to face or over the phone sometimes. It'll be unspoken and you might not know. So this could be also through your content marketing to try to ask those questions to yourself of why shouldn't somebody buy from me? And here might be some common examples of objections. Again, like feel free to post some of these objections in the comments too of like the some of the things that you've heard of why from customers of why they didn't want to buy from you. Be curious to hear. So one could be it's too expensive. And remember when you're answering this, remember your mindset is providing sales as a service and targeting your ideal customer. You don't want to alienate people, you want to keep it positive. So when they say it's too expensive, you can say, I get it, it's an investment. You're paying for freshness, flavor, and supporting a local farm. Or it's $1 more per pound, but you'll use every bit. No waste from spoilage. Or this bottle will last you for 3 months. That's less than $2 per week. If they ask, is this organic? If you are, great. Yes, certified organic. If you're at the market, point to your sign. Or not certified, but we don't use pesticides or chemical fertilizers. We farm naturally. Or want to know how I grow it? I'm happy to explain my methods. Another common one could be, I don't know how to cook this. Super easy, roasted with olive oil and salt, that's it. Treat it exactly like zucchini, saute, grill, steam it. I posted a recipe on my Instagram last week. Point to your sign with your Instagram handle. Or I'm just looking. Again, you don't want to be that icky used sales carsman. Just say, no problem. Holler if you have questions or be helpful. Just pick these this morning. Hold up something really beautiful. Or promote something else like peaches are perfect this week. Best we've had all season. Or they might say, you might hear, do you have insert something that you don't grow? You can say no, but these plums are incredible right now. Or not until next month, but here's what is ripe now. Or you could say, not my specialty, but name another farm that grows great ones. Again, so sales as a service, even if they don't buy from you now, they they could come back later on, and having those positive trust building opportunities with them is also really important. And finally, some of these leads have made it to the action phase. So your goal here to get customers to make the purchase. You're converting them into paying customers after all that work, getting them through the funnel. At this stage, you want to make it easy for customers to take this step. You should have a clear call to action. It should be a simple, smooth, intuitive checkout process, and then also make it easy to access the product. If you're selling in a farmer's market, it's pretty straightforward. You have your price listed, they line up, they check out, they take the food with them. In wholesale, it could be a little more complicated. Um, so, you might have to have like your invoicing system set up. You have to figure out your delivery logistics, figure out all the specs that work with your buyers, and then make the delivery. And then later they make the payment. Um, our program works closely with many farmers to facilitate sales, and this is a common area where we see deals falling through, is at the decision and action stage. So you really want to make sure you're ready with your product information, your delivery capacity, and your timelines. These are like common pitfalls for especially wholesale sales. Um, so once your customer's ready to buy, you need to be there, making it as quick and simple as possible. And then you're not done. You had the customer made the first sale. Um, so you want to turn them into repeat customers. Think about how much work it took to start at the top of that funnel, nurture your leads to get down to the action phase. It's a lot less effort to get them to repeat a sale than it is to just continually bring in new leads. So your goal is to turn them into repeat customers and build long-term customer loyalty. Ways of doing this is personalized thank yous. You can do it in person, send a note, send an email, ask for feedback. That's a great one to see if you can do any better, if there's anything else they're looking for upcoming opportunities. You can ask for them to share a testimonial or review that you can share on Google reviews or social media. Referrals are really great. So I'm just checking the time here. Let's go through a sales funnel example. So you're a diversified small farm that grows vegetables year-round on 3 acres. You sell at farmers markets and you also have a CSA where you're looking to grow the membership. So at the awareness stage, you could be sharing your photos of your produce on Instagram and Facebook, post how they're sustainably grown. Let's take your lead. Her name is Sarah. Sarah drives by your farm every day on her way to work. She's seen your fresh vegetables sign for months, but never stopped. And then one Saturday, she's scrolling Instagram, sees your post about heirloom tomatoes with a beautiful photo. She thinks, that's the farm I drive by. So the result is you've established awareness. Now she knows who you are, what you do. The next, you show a reel of you harvesting carrots at sunrise. Invite people to download a recipe for a specialty crop you're growing. So Sarah follows you on Instagram after seeing your tomato post. Over the next 2 weeks, she sees a post about your no spray growing practices, a photo of your kids helping on the farm. She thinks this farm seems legit. I like that they're local and transparent about how they grow. Maybe I should try them. And then the result is their interest is deepened. She's warming up to the idea of buying from you. So at the decision phase, you can try running a special promo. Sign up this week, get a free bunch of flowers with your first CSA box. Sarah visits your farmer's market booth. She asks, how much is your CSA share? What if I don't like beets? Can you customize your boxes at all? When do you deliver? What can I see in a typical box? These are great because these are really specific questions. You can tell that she's getting pretty serious about purchasing. So she signs up to your newsletter and says, I'll think about it. So that evening, she gets your welcome email with information about your CSA, a testimonial about another happy customer from your CSA, and then you share a promotion. Sign up this week, the same promotion. Sign up this week and get a free bunch of flowers in your first box. The result is she's still considering. She opened the email. She's almost ready. And in the action phase, you make your featured products available for sale. So it's finally here. Sarah decides to sign up for a half-season CSA. She fills out the online form, she pays, and immediately receives a confirmation email and a PDF guide of what to expect from her first CSA box. The result, first purchase complete, excellent start. And then there's the loyalty phase. For Sarah, she finished up her 12-week CSA. She loved it. 2 weeks before it ends, she receives an email saying, Sarah, we loved having you this season. Sign up by this time and get $50 off and have a renewal link to make it easy for her. She also gets invited to members only farm tour and potluck, and first access to You Pick Strawberry Day. She renews immediately for the farm for the fall season. And then through the season, you remember her name at pickup. You ask how her daughter liked the cherry tomatoes, throw in extra basil when you have that extra abundance. Um, and these are things that you can do to establish that loyalty and keep that loyalty. Um, and then something that I don't really cover here is that Sarah will hopefully become an evangelist where she is referring everybody and becoming part of your marketing team, trying to bring people in her network to your CSA. Okay, next up, let's talk about selecting your marketing channels. Um, so the Farm to Market team has the Farm to Market handbook, and it covers the five major marketing channels, the most common ones that small to mid-size farms use. It's available for free online, and you can read about it more in detail. I won't go into like each and every one in this talk, but you can definitely review this resource. And then so I wanted to talk about the first two are direct farmers markets and community supported agriculture, CSA. They are direct to consumer channels. They are exempt from standardization rules, so you don't need to conform to grading or packing standards. Whereas retail, institution, and wholesale, you do have to consider things like standardization, food safety, liability insurance, and transportation logistics. And then here is a figure from CAFF's Farmer's Guide to Organic Wholesale Pricing. And it shows that when you go direct to consumer, like in farmers markets and CSAs, that you get the highest prices for per unit. And then lower and lower prices when you go institutional buyers, less for grocery, and then least for distributors and food hubs. So you might wonder, looking at this figure, why wouldn't a farmer decide to sell 100% of their product through direct marketing then? Um, let's talk about some of the pros and cons of going direct to consumer or business to customer, B2C, or business to business, B2B. When you go B2C, you do get higher prices, which is great. Although you have higher marketing effort per person and definitely smaller purchasing volumes. The benefit is you get one-on-one relationships with your customers. With B2B, you get lower prices per volume or per unit, but much higher product volume. Lower marketing effort per customer since each customer is purchasing so much more. And then it can be transactional. The interactions are less personal. And going B2B requires a higher degree of professionalism. Again, this is where standardization comes into play for grading and packaging and various delivery logistics, like if you need refrigerated trucks and if you need to palletize your products as well. And then you don't have to choose just a single marketing channel, as many of us are already aware. In general, a diversified model builds for resilience. So it's not a bad idea to sell through multiple sales channels, marketing channels. Um, Farmers markets are great for getting a high price, but with low sales volume. However, farmers market customers are often more accepting of off-grade or second-grade produce. So it could be a really useful outlet for your seconds while selling your premium grade or your first grade produce to wholesale, where you have buyers that are much more strict. And then also when there are shifts in the market, like commodity prices crashing, then you have your B2C options to help balance your risk in uncertain years. So in thinking about which marketing channel is right for you, these are different things to consider when you're trying to go into wholesale. From our experience on the farm to market team, some of these things, some of the common challenges that that farmers face might be meeting the right volume. It's a question of scaling up your production to meet the volume requirements for wholesale. So really think about matching your efforts to the right scale of what you're producing and the scale of what your buyer is looking for. Price setting, we will talk about pricing in just a moment, but definitely being realistic about your price expectations when going into wholesale, knowing that it isn't going to be the same. It's not likely to be the same as selling retail direct to consumer. And then again, I mentioned standardization. There's a standardization rule for over 30 fruits and vegetables where you have to conform to standard grade and pack requirements. And then also when you're approaching different buyers, they'll also have very different requirements for minimum liability insurance. It can be 1 million up to 5 million or more. And then food safety. Different wholesale buyers will have different requirements, and sometimes you might need a third-party audit, say food safety audit. So what to prepare when considering going into wholesale, make sure you have your product availability and pricing on hand before approaching your buyer, because that's oftentimes the first question they'll have. Prepare your food safety plan. Make sure you have your documentation in place, also in case that you are asked for it. Your liability insurance and your W-9. Mostly if you're approaching school buyers, you'll need your W-9. Consider what volume is needed and the packing standards there. Any delivery logistics of how far you're willing to deliver, the frequency, the timing, and any cold chain that you need to maintain along the way. And another thing to consider too is payment terms. Sometimes you'll get cash on delivery. Other buyers are net 90. So just think about if you're able to wait 90 days, up to 90 days in order to get paid. And then setting up a B2B sale, first contact the buyer, establish your point of contact at that company, be prepared with your availability list before contacting the buyer. Like I mentioned, our team facilitates sales for many farmers every year, and this is a super common area where a sale will stall or break down. So having an updated availability list that you share in a timely way is, I cannot stress that enough. And then for onboarding, definitely upfront, you want to ask your buyer what their onboarding requirements are, just to see if you're even eligible to sell to them. Again, common things might be food safety and liability insurance. And then having all of your documents ready so that you can move quickly. A lot of the time, wholesale buyers might be ready to make a sale really quickly. They just need to make sure that you're onboarded first. So the sooner you can move through that process, the better. And then confirm volume, price, and delivery. This is the negotiation phase where you're agreeing on specs, agreeing on volume, price, delivery. Oh, sorry. And then make the delivery. Make sure you're delivering based on the buyer's specs and definitely deliver in the time that you agreed on. Again, this is B2B. The business that you're selling to has their own operations that they need to keep running, and you want to make sure that the sale is a positive experience. You're providing solutions, you're solving problems. You definitely don't want to be creating problems. So if the delivery timing is challenging for you, definitely discuss that ahead of time instead of agreeing to a delivery window that you know that you definitely cannot make. And then after the sale, follow up. This is super important after your first sale. You never want to assume that there's going to be a second sale. This is early on in your relationship. You can think about it like it's your first date. Depending on if this is an ideal customer for you, you may want to nurture this relationship. So eventually you get married. So communication is super important. And then repeat steps 2 to 6 as often as possible and be consistent. Be consistent so that your buyer knows exactly what to expect from you. You don't have to follow up after every sale. You might want to check in more frequently at the beginning and then just occasional check-ins later on. It's just important to know if a sale doesn't happen, uh, the buyer might be interested in purchasing you later down the road, so definitely always keep that door open. Um, and sales is more than transactions, it's about building strong, lasting relationships. So always want to emphasize that. Okay, let's cover price setting. Okay, so let's shift over to setting the right price for you, which also kind of folds into choosing the right marketing channels because the pricing will change depending on where you're selling your products. Different price strategies will work for different farms, for different products, for different customers. So we're going to go over 5 different strategies. And so the dilemma when you're thinking about setting your price is if you price too high, you'll have fewer sales. People will think you're too expensive. You don't want that. But then if you price too low, you can't pay your bills. It's not sustainable for your business. Eventually, you're going to go out of business. Um, and then the reality is that many farmers undercharge because they feel guilty or don't know their real costs of production. So the truth is, pricing is more than math. It's about strategy. Uh, just I just want to back up to say that the math is super important and knowing your cost of production is really important. You definitely don't want to blow past that. There was a really great talk yesterday at the conference called Pricing for Profitability from Kirsten Kahn from 10 Financial yesterday. It's posted on our YouTube channel. Definitely recommend checking that out to help you calculate your cost of production. And the challenge of setting your price is that the price is so fluid. It changes on a regular basis, and then your production costs will also change year to year. Um, Even within the year, it changes depending on the time of year, regionality, the volume of the product, and the perceived value from your customer side. And in general, best practice is definitely to price for profitability. The exception might be if you are producing loss leaders or a loss leader. That's when you price below your break-even point, and you're doing that to attract or maintain customers. This is like the classic grocery store example. Say like the $5 rotisserie chicken at Costco. I don't know if it's actually $5 anymore, but there's no way that they make money on it, and Costco like knows that they're going to lose money, but it brings customers in, and then once they're in the door, they inevitably buy other things that are more profitable. So let's look at 5 different strategies for determining your pricing. First is cost plus pricing. This is where you have your fixed costs. This is with your knowing any farm salaries, property taxes, rent, if you have any monthly payments on equipment, and then your variable costs. This depends on, these will change based on how much of your crop is grown, like hourly labor costs, any inputs, seed, fertilizer, fuel, and then setting a markup percentage, and that's setting how your profit margin. The benefit of this is it's a great starting point for setting a baseline. It ensures you cover your cost of production. It's easy to defend or justify your prices, and it helps identify when you have unprofitable crops. What it doesn't do is it doesn't account for market demand or perceived value. You could be leaving money on the table. It can lead to underpricing if the market will bear more. It ignores what competitors charge, and tracking actual time spent from your side as a farmer is hard. So cost plus pricing is best for wholesale or volume sales and when selling to institutions that need cost justification. Can be common for school buyers. Next, there's competitive pricing. This is where you're basing your price on what others are charging for similar products. So you can do your research on your competitors. You can look at what products are selling for at farmers markets. Um, what does Whole Foods charge? How about a regular grocery store or restaurant suppliers? And then you can position yourself relative to these costs or relative to these prices and adjust based on your differentiation. Again, thinking about that ideal customer. What it does is it keeps you competitive. It's easy to research and implement, and customers see you as fair priced. What it doesn't do, or the drawback is it can lead to a race to the bottom. It doesn't account for your actual costs. It ignores what makes you different. Um, and comparing, you don't necessarily want to be comparing to different business models, and you're competing on price alone, not the value. So this competitive pricing is best for when you're selling commodities in saturated markets where there's lots of competition, and in markets where customers can easily comparison shop, like at a farmer's market, where a customer can go to the stall next door or down the road to look for a similar item. Next up, there's values-based pricing. And this is setting your price based on the value customers receive, not your cost or your competitor's costs. What is the product worth to the customer? So first, you're identifying the value that you provide. It could be through convenience. You're delivering it. You're providing pre-washed, ready to cook items. It could be exclusive, rare varieties that are only like that only you grow in the state. Could be quality through flavor, freshness, nutrition, experience. They get the farm story, the relationship, transparency, high touch. Um, and so what it does do is it maximizes profit on differentiated products. It attracts ideal customers who value what you do. It rewards innovation and quality, and the pricing is sustainable. Drawbacks are it requires clear communication of value. It doesn't work for commodities. You need to find the right customers in order to do this, and it can you can face price resistance if the value isn't clear. So this is best for truly unique product offerings if you have really interesting varieties that they can't get anywhere else, so they can't price shop, for serving customers who prioritize quality over price, and for services like education and agritourism. Almost there. 405. Tiered pricing. So this is where you can offer different prices to different customer segments based on volume commitment or service level. It embraces that not everyone has the same needs or budget. So you're creating these pricing tiers that could be, so if it's volume, they are buying more in order to pay less per unit. They could be high commitment, so you're paying for a CSA for a full season versus just buying a single box. Service tiers, if you offer door-to-door delivery versus self-pickup, or the customer type, wholesale versus retail pricing. Um, just to give you an example of what tier pricing looks like, if you are selling tomatoes at a farmer's market, you're selling it for example, $6 per pound. You're selling it in smaller quantities. It's very convenient for the customer. It's high touch because you have to provide samples. You have to like talk to a lot of people. Um, Packaging could be an issue. Um, and then in wholesale, you're selling it for $4.50 per pound. And you're selling $4.50 per pound to restaurants, and you're setting a minimum order of 100 pounds. So you're making up for the lower price with higher volume, less packaging, you have bulk containers, and you have a weekly standing order. Or you can have a you pick for $3 per pound. The customer does the labor of picking for you. It's less handling. You can also move more volume more quickly. So the idea is you're providing the same tomatoes, but different prices based on the service level and the volume. So it's great because it captures different customer willingness to pay. It rewards behaviors you want. It maximizes revenue across segments, and it gives customers choices. Uh, it can be complex to manage. Customers might feel like it's unfair. You need clear boundaries between your tiers, and it requires a good system to track. So this is best for different customer types with different needs. It's best for moving volume without devaluing your retail price and when you want to segment your market. Okay, last one. Dynamic pricing. This is when you're adjusting prices based on supply, demand, seasonality, and market conditions. This is so it's the idea of the U-shaped curve for pricing. For example, like the reality is not all tomatoes in June are worth the same as tomatoes in August. Um, so like early season and late season offerings can be sold at a higher price, it's higher perceived value. And then it's great at maximizing revenue across different conditions. It reduces waste, it captures scarcity value, and it's responsive to market reality. It can confuse customers and they might ask, why was this $6 last week? It requires active management. You risk alienating your loyal customers, and you definitely need to communicate changes clearly. This is best for when supply fluctuates significantly, for highly perishable items, at farmers markets where you can adjust day of, and when you have gluts or shortages, or items with clear seasonal value changes. So I will leave you with just wrapping up what we talked about today, reminding you that um, for your mindset towards sales, treat sales as a service versus just one-time transactions. Um, and think about providing meaningful value for your customers. You're solving problems, you're educating, you're building relationships, you're listening. Think about sales as an ongoing process. Each sales attempt, whether it's successful or not, is a learning opportunity. It gives you more information and data to see how you can adjust for your next attempt, next opportunity. It helps you find the right customer, helps you communicate a winning value proposition, and finding the right sales channels that fit your business and setting the right price. And then hopefully this talk gave you some ideas on setting up your sales funnel and how to move through the stages from awareness to interest, decision, action, and loyalty. Um, and then if uh, it's a good idea to start working on your sales strategy early. Um, if you're early starting your farm business, or if you're thinking about scaling up from to more wholesale, you definitely want to build your sales strategy in order to build your demand as you are working on growing your supply. And then if you are already at that stage where you need to find buyers now for a lot of product, um, it's okay. It's okay. It's not the most ideal situation, but it's never too late to start working on your intentional sales strategy. And then I will leave you with a quote from Seth Godin of people don't buy goods and services, they buy relations, stories, and magic. And then a reminder about our farm to market program. If you're looking for sales assistance, please reach out to me and our skilled team of professionals in the farm to market program. We're here to help. Thanks so much. Okay, let's go over to the Q&A. Okay, just bear with me while I go through. I haven't been able to see the comments and questions until now. Um, First question, where is the free handbook available? Uh, Hopefully there's somebody on my team here that can share. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Let me just go through the chat here. Unless Evan, you saw any questions come up, I definitely appreciate some help going through.
Let's see. Not actually seeing a lot of questions.
Yeah. Well, if anybody has any questions, feel free to um, ask. I will be sharing this presentation with everyone that signed up tomorrow. So you'll have some resources there and then also link um, to
Wow.
more resources that I referenced here.
Well, Jen here says the presentation was so well done, I don't have any questions. So there you
Thanks,
go.
Jen.
Someone does ask, will this video be available, emailed? I had to join late, and the answer is yes. This video, along with most videos here at the conference, are going to be uploaded to CAFF's YouTube channel, and all of those links will be shared to all attendees. So you can check it out. It'll probably be live tomorrow. And yeah, stay tuned for more. Well, I think with that, we could probably just call it a night. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thanks everybody for attending today's workshop and the final closeout of day two here at the 38th Annual California Small Farm Conference. We hope to see all of you tomorrow for another day of panels and workshops, and of course, later this week at our many in-person gatherings across the states. So have a wonderful night, everybody.
Thanks so much, everyone.